Algebra 1, Concept 1170A, Identifying the slope and y-intercept from graphs and equations. Slope is the constant rate of change of a linear function. You've probably heard of slope before. A positive slope is when you're looking at a graph and it moves up from left to right. Negative slope moves down when looking at a graph from left to right. Zero slope is when the line is horizontal or it does not increase up or down from left to right. And an undefined slope is when the line is vertical. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. You're going to be hearing that an awful lot so hopefully you've heard it before now. M is the slope, the rate of change. B is the y-intercept, where the graph crosses the y-axis. Horizontal and vertical lines are sometimes hard to remember, so we have a little acronym for you. HOY, or HOY, stands for H, a horizontal line. 0, or O, is zero slope. And the Y is that the Y value is equal to a number. So when you see a line that is horizontal, you should think HOY. Horizontal, slope of 0, Y equals a value. When you have a vertical line, you can think of VUX. V stands for vertical, U, an undefined slope, and X is when the X value equals a number. Now we're going to find the slope and y-intercept of these given graphs. You can find the slope, remember the letter for that is M. You can find that by rise over run. What I like to do is find 2 points on the graph, because in graph A you can see that they're not labeled, and then go from left to right. And to find slope first, I go rise over run. So on graph A, I've labeled 2 points. I'm going to start at the far left dot, that's down in the bottom left corner, and I'm going to go up 8 and right 3. So I write my slope as positive 8 over positive 3. And my slope then is 8/3. My y-intercept is 4. The b value is 4. Letter B, Those 2 points were already given. I went up 0, but I had to go to the right 9 places. 0 divided by 9 is 0. The y-intercept is -1. So b equals -1. On the next one, C, I plotted 2 points and I had to rise 3 and go to the right 6. That simplifies to 1/2. The slope is 1/2 or 1/2, and the y-intercept is -1. The graph crosses the y-axis at -1. Finding the slope from a linear equation. Again, the slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. I'm going to write that underneath the equation, and you can see that this equation is already in slope-intercept form. So the -1/2 is in the same place that the m value would be. That means that -1/2 is the slope. 2 is in the same place the b value is. That means the y-intercept is 2 in this equation. And the next equation we're going to have to rewrite. So I'm going to subtract 20x from each side. -5y equals -20x plus 10. Remember, you cannot combine those two. They're not like terms. One has the variable x and the other is a constant. To get y by itself, I'm going to divide each term by -5 to isolate the variable y. When I do that, y is equal to positive 4x minus 2. When I think about slope-intercept form, 4 is in the same spot that m would be in that formula. So the slope is 4. 2 is in the same spot as b is in that formula. However, notice that the sign in front of 2 is a subtraction. That means also that the value that the 2 holds is negative. So the value of the y-intercept is negative 2. The next equation says y equals 8. Remember we talked about that acronym HOY, HOY. This is going to represent a horizontal line. It means that this has a slope of 0 and y equals 8 because the y-intercept is 8. It's going to cross the y-axis at 8. So slope is 0, y-intercept is 8. On the next one, x equals negative 2, we have to remember VUX. This is going to be a vertical line with an undefined slope, and the y-intercept is none. There is no y-intercept. It is going to run parallel to the y-axis, never touching the y-axis. So the y-intercept is that there isn't one. Don't put 0 here because there is a 0 value at the origin for the y-axis, but you need to write none. Find the slope and the y-intercept of each of these graphs given. Let's look at this first one. I can see that that is a vertical line, so in my head I know that there's a special abbreviation for that, VUX. So it's a vertical line with an undefined slope, and on this one, it's actually sitting on the y-axis. So you can just write that the y-intercept is any value on the y-axis. Let's look at the next one. I need to identify 2 points on the graph, and then I need to do my rise over run. So I rose 1 and I went to the right 2, making my slope 1 over 2 or half. And then this graph crosses the y-axis at negative 2. So we would put our b value as negative 2. On the next one, trying to find my slope. This one I notice that when I look at the slope, it's negative. So if I start at the left point, I'm going to have to go down. I actually go down 5, and then I go to the right 4, making my slope negative 5/4. The y-intercept, where the graph crosses the y-axis, which is negative 1. The last one here has the 2 points given, so if I do my rise over run, I actually have to go down 2 again, making it negative 2, and then to the right 2. Negative 2 over 2 simplifies to negative 1. And then from the origin, I would have to go down 3 spaces to the y-intercept, making my y-intercept, or the b value, equal to negative 3. All right, these next few, it's asking us to find the slope and the y-intercept of the equation. Again, remembering y equals mx plus b. So if I look at the first one, y equals, you can add a 1 in front of that, 1x plus 2. And again, the 1 is in the same place that the m would be, making the slope 1. And 2 is in the same place that the b value or y-intercept would be. So b or our y-intercept is 2. Next one, that acronym HOY, H-O-Y. This is a horizontal line. So the slope is going to be 0. And the b value is going to be 6, or the y-intercept is 6. Here's another equation that we need to rewrite. We need to rewrite it into the y equals mx plus b formula. So we're trying to isolate the y value. I'm going to move the 8x. I'm going to subtract 8x to both sides. Remember to keep the sign in front of the 4, so that's a negative 4y is equal to negative 8x plus 12. And then you need to divide by negative 4 to each term, simplifying y equals 2x minus 3. 2 is in the same place as m, so our slope is 2, and our y-intercept is then negative 3. The last one, x equals 5. The acronym VUX, V vertical, so this is going to be a vertical line with an undefined slope, and it's not going to touch the y-axis at all. So there is no y-intercept. We would say there is none.